One time a cat that I had since I was 15 years old was gonna pass away, so I had to send my husband into the vets because I just couldn't handle it. He came out with his head down looking really sad with a pamphlet in his hand. He says, "I'm so sorry, baby, but you're either gonna have to put her down or it's paleontology." And I watch Friends, so I know what paleontology is. I'm like, what? My cat's gonna die if I don't study dinosaurs? What? He's like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. And he looked at the pamphlet. He's like, palliative care. One time when we first started talking, I called my husband and he's like, wow, you called back fast. And I was like, oh, really? I did? And he's like, I don't know. I have no concept of time. My husband is very like patient and introverted, and I'm the opposite. I want things now, now. And one time he sat me down and very seriously says to me, MJ, haven't you heard the story of the rabbit and the hare? They're the same thing. One time, I don't know what we were talking about, but I'm like, I don't think I'm sexist. My husband's like, oh, you are definitely sexist. I'm like, what? To who? And he's like, it depends on what gender you are that day. Recently, I referred to my cat as a feline. It's a boy cat, and my husband was like, he's not a feline, he's a boy. One time he was like, I'm gonna go DUI a shed. I'm like, DUI? Are you gonna fall off the wagon and drink and then go build a shed? What? He's like, no, DUI, like the DUI network. One time my husband says, back when I was a kid, we didn't have all these iPads, okay? We just rode our bikes and flipped shit up. I'm like, what do you mean by flipped shit up? What did you flip up? He still hasn't answered me. Also, he's in his 20s. They definitely had iPads. One day we were watching TV. I'm like, damn, that is a nice ass tattoo, but I'd be nervous because, like, what if she gets cellulite later on and it distorts it? And my husband's like, you can get cellulite on your ass? I'm like, well, yeah, that's, I think, like, a common place for it. I'm pretty sure, like, everybody has some cellulite on their ass at some point. And he was just like, oh my God. I'm like, what the fuck do you think cellulite is? He's like, that stuff that's like MRSA. For one, that's cellulitis. And for two, you can still get it on your ass. This one's hard for me to say with a straight face. My dog, when she gets groomed, like, they do her tail, like, all fancy looking, and I joke and call it a Brazilian blowout, like, cause like, women get it on their hair. This is so funny, I'm crying, okay? So one time I was like, they did a really good job on her Brazilian blowout this time. And he's like, you mean her Brazilian butt blowout? I'm like, no, there's no butt in that. It's just a Brazilian blowout, like her tail. And he's like, oh my God. My husband was stealth at work, so nobody knew that he was a trans man. Well, I mean, his superiors did, but also they didn't know that, like, he was with a dude, so he really tried to keep a low profile for that. And he was going around telling everybody that our dog just had a Brazilian butt blowout. And so they were probably looking at him like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? And he really just thought that was the type of haircut, that was the way they cut the tail. That was not helping his stealth status. One time I mentioned to my husband something about having a fupa, and he acted confused, like perplexed, and I'm like, you don't know what a fupa is? He's like, I know what a fupa is. It's that shoe brand they used to sell at Walmart. He thought it was FUBU. One time I was rearranging furniture and I moved the coffee table and I'm like, hey, do you think the coffee table looks better here? And my husband, he was on his phone really engrossed in something and he didn't answer me. I'm like, hello? And he's like, oh my God, sorry, my bad. I was reading an article about a lesbian astronaut who committed a space crime. One time my husband says, I have the same problem as Snickerdoodles. I'm soft and I'm questionable.